Hey guys, 3-Bit Gamer Show coming to you from the floor of Salt Lake Comic-Con. Thanks for tuning in to our special coverage. We're sitting down here with Gabriel Gerrard from Utah Retro Gamers to talk, retro games, duh. I'm JD.
This is Peterson. Spencer here.
And I'm Gabriel.
And we are your hosts for this special episode. So Gabriel, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Growing up, video games weren't allowed in my house. My mom locked our Nintendo in a towel closet.
Oh my gosh.
And when I was 18 years old, everybody was wanting to buy N64s, so I got my hands on a Sega Saturn and a TurboGrafx for really cheap, and it's kind of gone from there.
Dude, love it. Counterculture. Screw the trends, right?
Amen.
Nice. Right. So you go from being forbidden from video games to now owning...
So I had some life experiences. I got married, had a kid, sold all my collections. About 4 years ago, I got back into it. I had a Nintendo with a few games, a Genesis with a few games, and a TurboGrafx with 2 games. Currently, I think hooked up at any given time, there's probably 28 consoles to an old Sony CRT TV.
Oh my gosh.
There's probably... My goal is to own every handheld that ever had a dedicated cartridge, which I think I'm up to about 60 different consoles from all over the world.
Do you know how many you're missing?
3.
3?
There's 3 different. There's a Game8 that was only sold in Asia, and I don't own a Game8, and then there's 2 other ones. But if you can think of it, I own it.
Dude, that's
I own
awesome.
every original Nintendo game. I was the first person in Utah. Now there's 3 of us, 2 of my good buddies as
And
well.
they're in your group with you, right?
They are in my group here with
tell
us
us about
today.
the Utah Retro Gamers.
So Utah Retro Gamers, I got back into collecting in January 2013. I bought Excite Bike off of a KSL ad because I wanted to play it.
Best choice ever. Yep.
I went to the guy who was selling it to me, and he just happened to have a whole bunch of games. So I decided I'm going to go for 100 Nintendo games. 100 turned to 200 in about 2 months, and within
like
that's when I decided. Well, I'm the dealer for it. There's a lot of wives that hate me.
I'm the dealer.
They're like, "Oh, you're the guy that did this to my husband."
It's you. I love that. I'm the dealer.
So Utah Retro Gamers started in January 2014 with about 3 of us. It's now at 530 plus people. Some of the biggest collections in the world exist between Provo and Logan. I'm talking one of a kind developer kit stuff. I know people in Utah with over 6,000 games. I know people with full sets of Nintendo, Super Nintendo, N64, Jaguar, Jag CD, TurboGrafx, you name it.
Do you know anyone with a Dreamcast dev kit?
I do.
What?
Absolutely do.
Dreamcast dev kit?
I know somebody with a WonderSwan black and white dev kit.
Oh
I know.
My gosh.
I know. I have played games that were unreleased for GameCube on the Nintendo Dolphin developer kit in my front room.
Oh my god.
Dude,
that's amazing. We didn't know there was just gold sitting in the Salt Lake Valley.
Most people, when people join Utah Retro Gamers, the number one thing I hear is, I thought I was alone in this. And a lot of them, because we're friends with a lot of the game stores in Salt Lake, from Provo to Logan, a lot of them will tell people, hey, check out Utah Retro Gamers, and they join us, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. I don't have to hang out in my basement. I can go hang out at Gabriel's house. I've had 71 people at my house for a game night.
Oh. 71?
Inside my house with my $60,000 collection.
Dude,
right in
fire marshal.
Everybody, yeah, exactly.
And your wife
loves this, right? I have very understanding neighbors. My wife and son go see a movie on game night.
You guys aren't going to want to be here for
So you guys are redefining game night. This isn't like, hey, let's get the buddies together. This is an event.
It's like climb into my time machine.
There's been games at Utah Retro Gamers game nights that you won't see at conventions. A lot of us go to these national conventions. There's one in Portland, one in Phoenix, one in LA. And I have seen games that you don't see at those conventions show up to my house. Stuff like dev kit stuff. You're not going to see a Sega CD dev kit with the original boards able to produce games at these national conventions, and you're seeing it in my house. I have a prototype of the Bible on the Game Boy. I have the guy who won Nintendo World Championships T-shirt that Nintendo gave him to wear to Star Fox Weekend in 1994.
Oh my God.
That's the kind of stuff you're going to see.
You mentioned that you've only, of your huge collection, you've only purchased a few off of like eBay and Amazon, and the majority come through trades, right?
If you pay full price in retro gaming, it gets real old real fast.
This is not fun.
It's hard to build.
Talk about how the trading works. How does that work?
I hate to make the comparison, but it's a lot like drug deals. I have met people that live in storage sheds.
Oh my God.
I have met people that have straight up told me they need money for drugs. I have traded. I try and be fair. If somebody gives me a price, I'm not going to tell them that's too little.
Yeah.
But if someone tells me, hey, what's this worth? I'll tell them, hey, it's worth this much on eBay, but you got to pay 10% to eBay, 3% to PayPal, then you got to ship it. That's only if you sell it separately. Game Store will offer you half in-store credit, 50% of that in cash. So, and I'll try and find somewhere in the middle, and I build a lot of my collection that way.
Yeah.
But there are people within Utah Retro Gamers that sell games either on KSL or on groups, where if I find a copy of Link to the Past or a copy of Pokemon Yellow on Game Boy, that's a $20 bill at my buddy Brian's house. So I can go to his house and know I have $20 in trade towards whatever I need that he happens to have.
That's awesome.
But as it gets crazier, it's harder and harder to find things that I'm looking for. So I used to take Link to the Past to get $6 Nintendo games, but now that I own every Nintendo game, it's hard to trade Link to the Past for a Neo Geo game or a TurboGrafx 60 or a PC Engine Duo R game, stuff like that.
Yeah. Sounds like just like an insane catalog that's in your brain. What is it? I mean, where do you go for these trades? Like, where do you find the guy in the storage shed or the dude that's hard up for cash for drugs?
So one of the rules of Utah Retro Gamers, one of the initial things that almost everybody posts is, so where are you guys finding all your games? And
is that like a secret? Did I ask you a secret?
If I tell you where I find all my games and how I do it, the next time I go there, they won't be there. So I don't tell people. It's kind of a trade secret where I mean, I trade with stuff. I own a handheld that they made literally 5 of, and they only sold it in Bulgaria, Eastern Europe. They only used to take it to these toy shows.
Oh my!
And they made white ones, and they made like 5,000 of the white one, but the black one they made 5 of, and there's one known in existence, and it's in my basement. And I bought it from a sketchy guy named Jesus that lives in Spain.
I love this.
And a guy that I knew in Florida plugged me into a guy in Germany who plugged me into this guy named Jesus in Spain.
Hold on, who is that? Some guy just drove by.
Just drove by on the golf.
These are cheers for Gabriel's 1 of 5 here.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Dude, that is such a cool stat on that kind of stuff.
I know that guy.
Oh yeah, well, when you have friends that have 6,500 video games, which I don't, I own maybe 2,200 games, which seems
just
like
22.
a lot.
God,
2,200 games
here?
seems like a lot until you meet someone that has 6,500, which a lot of the people that I talk to on a daily basis do. At which point, making them so when they come over to my house and see my collection, they still say, "Wow." That's when you have to get into prototype stuff. That's when you have to get into jackets that were only released to the developer team of games for the original PlayStation, stuff like that, which is where my collection kind of shines. That and obscure handhelds. I own a lot of obscure handhelds.
All right,
gotta
so
have a niche.
In terms of the questions, what is some of your favorite? I mean, it's tough to say like your favorite Nintendo game. Like that's just going to be too hard.
No,
you have
really
one
easy.
ready to go?
Really easy.
Let's hear it, dude.
There's a game called Guerrilla War. And Guerrilla War on Nintendo was made by SNK, which is the people that made Neo Geo.
Mm-hmm.
Most of their games are quality. They made Ikari Warriors. They made some other games on Nintendo. But Guerrilla War is a $6 game. And I used to rent it when I was 9 years old. There's a lot of flashes that will cause seizures. And you can run through the whole game in like 40 minutes. I can play it with my 12-year-old son. We run through it. And much later in life, I learned that this game that's called Guerrilla War here in Japan was called Guevara, which they didn't tell us. You're actually playing as Fidel Castro and Che Guevara in this game.
Oh my God, I love
So
this.
the American copy is $6. The Japanese copy is $80 for a Famicom cart loose of it. But my favorite game since I was 9, I've been playing as Fidel Castro without knowing it.
Oh my gosh.
The video game equivalent of a Che T-shirt.
Pretty much.
You gotta love the 80s
the pictures
in gaming.
of Che are there.
Yeah.
And Fidel with a beard when he was like 30.
Oh my God.
That's amazing.
Okay, I think. Do you have any questions?
Yeah. So in terms of your group, the Utah Retro Gamers group, what's the easiest way to kind of get in touch with the group or join the group? How does that work? Is it a closed membership or is it anyone can hop in?
Well, it's closed because we don't want people seeing everybody's feed. We don't want everybody's family having to see it. So it is a closed group on Facebook. But just check out Utah Retro Gamers, and you'll get a thing that has basic rules, and the rules are pinned at the top. I mean, we don't want people in there that are only in the business of reselling video games. That's not what we're about. There are resellers in there, but they're not going to be posting. We can be found on Instagram at Utah Retro Gamer. We are on Twitter, Utah Retro Gamers. Hypothetically, in the future, we're working towards a Utah Retro Gaming Expo. We're working with some investors right now. It's been a hard fight going on for about 3 years now. Portland has a Retro Gaming Expo. Phoenix has got one. LA's got one. There's a bunch back Midwest and on the East Coast, and we think it's time for Utah to make one happen.
Get one in
here.
Utah.
Easier said than done.
Right.
And the reason we're here at Comic-Con is we're trying to get more people into the group, because if we can bump the numbers in Utah Retro Gamers from 500 to 1,000, then you can say, well, we want to make a 10,000 person convention versus a 5,000 convention. We've looked into the Grand Building at the Fair Park. We've looked into Southtown Expo Center. We've looked into here, and the difference in cost to put on a convention is huge. I mean, just here to have someone to take out the garbage at the Salt Palace is so hideously expensive. It's crazy. But yeah, check us out. Facebook is the main place where we do it. We're everywhere. Utah Retro Gamers are in all walks of life. I can't express that enough. Just the people that we have here at Comic-Con this weekend. One of my buddies is a doctor of bioengineering who's trying to cure epilepsy. One of my buddies is an HR guy for the Air Force. One of the girls sells houses. One of the guys works at one of the video game stores here in Salt Lake, and I work in the trucking industry on the corporate side. So it's all walks of life. There's people in the group that literally make their living sitting at DI waiting for video games to come out on the cart. There is people in the group. One of the board of directors for neurology at the Mayo Clinic, who has an impressive Neo Geo collection because he can afford it. Yeah. He's in the group.
So look to your left, then look to your right. One of those people is in Utah Retro Gamers.
Yep. Pretty close. Love it.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Gabriel, the fearless leader of Utah Retro Gamers. Make sure to check them out on Facebook, Instagram, wherever. If you love retro games, I'm sure they would love to have your collections added to theirs. That's all we've got, and make sure to stay tuned or check out our other Comic-Con videos. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Gabriel.
Thanks.